composing music today because there was a professor, Larry Moss, who in a composition class said, of course you could compose. You know, I go, really? And he introduced us to Schubert songs, which I already knew, but he thought that would be a good semester project. And I think your experience at Maryland was pretty happy. Yes. Yes.
I had a marvelous time at Maryland.
Yeah, it was such a contrast for me, the support and encouragement.
It was a very warm environment there.
Yes, and you would think just the opposite. Catholic University is a private school, it's Catholic, it's, you know, it's just, a lot depends on the individual professors, and I happen to have a few that were really difficult and almost changed my major to English literature, which might have been a good thing, I don't know. Right.
I was looking to get the nursing administrative assistant to join, but she has to wait for one of the professors.
Yeah. I know there are a couple of people who told us they were going to come back.
Yeah.
But why don't we talk about the poetry for a few minutes and then, you know, kind of see how things go. Now you probably want to say some things.
I did what most introverts do. I wrote something up.
Okay, there you go. All right, there you go.
Because I knew when I got here I would just trip over my tongue, and for you guys to get a better idea about, you know, what went into these poems and how they were produced and why they were produced. I figure I really need to put it down very clearly just for you and for also for me, because I'm not tremendously I don't like speaking in front of groups. I can do it, but here's what I have. I want to thank you all for coming to hear Sharon's songs built on a few of my poems. I was deeply honored and thrilled when she asked to set them. I was totally blew away, and it was a wonderful thing. Poetry has always been a very private byproduct of life for me, a kind of breadcrumb trail leading from lesson to lesson in my spiritual life. So I've been writing poetry since I was 9, of varying degrees of quality and subject matter, but that's another story entirely. I'm happy to show you some of these poems, which for me is a big step. I'm not usually very outgoing in terms of, you know, something that is so close to my inner life, but I can do it because we're here at Trinity. Many of these poems describe the glimpses we get sometimes of the divine world beyond our own, whether that be within ourselves, the natural world around us, or the depths of someone's eyes. I really believe that there's more than one reality. There is our temporal reality, and then there's a reality beyond that connects us to something divine. For some folks, like Sharon, music gets them there. Sometimes sports will get them there too. Or anything that really brings out who you are as a person and how you feel connected to that divine parentage, so to speak. And that is what I try to put into these poems. I only get so far with that because this is something that's transcendent. It's not something you can put a logical word on. But hopefully with the combination of our art forms, we can sort of show you what that's all about. I'm very grateful for the experiences in my life that have led to these poems. I'm grateful for the beauty in life, and I'm definitely grateful for Sharon setting these for me. I very much hope that you enjoy them.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Well, I think we both experienced the mysterious element here, because I can't tell you exactly what led me to hear music, specific music in terms of melody and chords and so forth, associated with particular lines in the poems. It just kind of happens. And it was the poem, The Soul of Things, that drew me to the idea of setting them to music. And I always do that with great humility, because my goal would be to do something that only enhances or is like a backdrop for the words, because the words are primary. And so I wouldn't want to do anything musically that would distract or detract from the words and the inner meaning. But with the soul of things, I had this idea, I think I wrote to you about this, Joan, that long time ago I had run into a song cycle by Ned Rorem, Poems of Love in the Rain, and he set each poem twice. Totally different melodies, totally different accompaniments. I thought, oh, I could do that with the soul of things. Well, then I ended up with the soul of things set unaccompanied, just melody. Welcome. Come in. And I thought, no, I don't want to set that twice, because then if I set it the second way with accompaniment, wouldn't people wonder? Wouldn't Joan wonder? Well, didn't she think the words stood alone or something?
No, I wouldn't say that.
And it seemed to be more a prologue to what was to come. And so I went through the poems again, and the next one that came to mind was Always, which has soul in it, and Moonlight, which has soul in it. And so it started, it went from there. And then there were two poems, Dandelion and Laughter, that I knew I was going to set. Now, I had fun with them, but they are profound. And every time I go back and look at the words, I'm thinking, this teaches us something about ourselves and about other human beings. There are just so many facets to life. And whether you're thinking about a difficult person in your life, or someone you treasure, or if you want to just vent, and process something that has happened, I believe it's in those two.
I think there's something to be said for knowing a poet before you set their music, but it's really poetry when you don't need to know the circumstances of the poet's life, that it resonates with you personally on some level. And I really think that is the essence of good writing, that it can appeal to you on a human level, rather than knowing, oh, well, she was going through this at the time, so this, and you don't have to know the backstory in order to appreciate the poem.
Well, that's also, I'm glad you said that, because it's also good for us to reflect on the fact that what you articulate, what you express in your poetry is so clear. I mean, I really do not know circumstances behind each poem. And it was only recently that you sent me a little bit of background, and mostly to other poems, not to the ones I said.
Right, I haven't sent you those.
You haven't sent me those yet. It's just interesting to think about. I never in my whole life used the term musical gestures. And when you read academic papers, that term comes up a lot. And I always wonder, what is this gibberish? What are they talking about? Musical gestures. An artist has gestures and a dancer has gestures. But I started to think how that applies here, because there were certain lines, just a phrase, that you have a certain way of expressing something. And all of a sudden I hear music like that.
Well, I think that's also because of our shared our shared history with song. I mean, for those that don't know, Sharon was my voice teacher for my whole time here, and even before that. So there is sort of an intuitive, what is the word? An intuitive leaning towards song, just because of that experience and knowing that literature. Is very valuable for a poet to know that.
In most music pieces, especially large scale, like orchestral pieces, operas and so forth, I think, and I haven't written any of those, I've only written short pieces, some chamber music, but mostly for voice and keyboard, either the acoustic piano or digital keyboard. I've been having fun with that in the last couple of years, with all the weird sounds you can get with a digital keyboard. But the idea of a formal structure is something that I always think comes out of the words if I'm studying a song. And that's why I wanted to type these out, and I tried to follow exactly how they are in the book. So when you read the poems, you'll see the breaks and verses, and you'll see the lines are of very different lengths, and I tried to follow that. So that's why you're going to hear, in some cases, long phrases, and in most cases, shorter phrases in the musical line to try to stay with that formal structure. The other thing is, most of my accompaniments are very thin textured. I think of them more like silk or a gauzy kind of thing. You can almost see through, you know, the transparency, except for the last one, Blessed Days, which is very thick textured, very driving. And when I was composing it, what came to my mind was a piece by John Adams, Short Ride in a Fast Machine, which is not a really long orchestral work. It's very rhythmic, and it just drives ahead until it's done. And it literally is about being in like a very fast car. Well, I wasn't thinking of Blessed Days so much as a fast car, but you know, life is short. I mean, it goes by fast. And you know, I was talking to my husband yesterday about something I thought happened last year, but it was 2 years ago at this time. And he looked at me like, so I'm not the only one that has a different sense of time. Well, here's another thing that came about with Blessed Days. I had developed a jazz class to teach here at Trinity, and hands-on, of course, is always better for all of us, I think, to learn something. So when we would get to things like salsa and Latin American jazz, I always had the students do rhythms. And I got these really, really nice clave sticks in Cancun. And so I would show them, this is kind of a variation of a clave rhythm. It's long, short, long. And so for Blessed Days, I used a standard time signature. It's in 4/4, 4 beats to the measure, but I divided them all in half, so you actually count 8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. And I used that all the way through with the thick textured chords, and it's over. You know, you blink and it's over. And then I thought about repeating it. And I thought, no, I can't do that, because, see, and actually, if I decided to, I would have asked your permission to repeat. Well, no, I need it. When I'm working with a live poet, I do ask permission to do certain things. So that's kind of a little background on what happened to me in this process. Is there anything else you want to add before?
No, but if there are questions, we will answer those
well, maybe
directly after.
I'll go through the songs and then we'll see.
Sounds good.
I'm going to put these over here so